beautiful souls, and welcome back or welcome to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I'm your host, Jessie Brown, and I am so excited to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 216. If you missed my last episode, number 215, I shared with you all 3 things to ask yourself when you want to quit. I like to revisit my episodes and review them so I can improve and optimize what it is that I'm sharing with you guys. And it's hard in real time to sometimes catch myself in the things that I'm saying. But whenever I review it, I can catch myself and I'm like, oh, I should have said that there. I should have said that. And I was listening to my last episode, number 215, just now on my drive home from work. And I was like, yeah, there was some things obviously that every episode could use improvement. I was like, I really like this concept. And I know that kind of sounds like narcissistic to say, I really liked this episode that I did, but I really liked the concept around it, because we often are so good at believing in everybody else around us, pushing everybody else around us, seeing the best for them, right? And noticing the beauty and the potential and the light and all the great things about people outside of us. But when it comes time to turn within, to look at ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to do that internal work, that's when we can begin to have resistance. And that's when things can almost become blocked, right? Because we're so good at that external piece of us. And so that was just a theme that I kept noticing upon listening to that episode, is how much all those things impact our lives. And what I kept coming back to is, well, it's great to talk about not giving up on ourselves and taking action and doing all these things. But when I stop and I take a look around, so many of us are just trying to get by. We're just trying to get to tomorrow. We're just trying to get through another day. And for so many of us, our mental health is at an all-time low. Money issues and stresses right now. Resources. I don't know about you where you live, but where I live, our medical system is effed. We have barrier after barrier, obstacle after obstacle. It's just, our system has crashed. And there's just a lot going on right now, and a lot of talk of even our carbon tax going up again. I believe it's another 23% or something crazy, which I can't even fathom. I barely just got enough groceries. I like to eat healthy, but I didn't get that much stuff. I had a bag and a half, and it was $130. And it's just like, times are just harder right now. And I want to validate that going into this episode, because today I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do right now to prioritize yourself, to help get your mental health back on track. But I don't want to go into this episode with you guys thinking, well, you got it all figured out, like you're fine. It's like, no. And honestly, we need to stop having that mentality. As a society, imagine if we came together, worked together, collaborated together, shared resources, shared expertise with each other. I just think back to like trading days, and we would trade our goods for other things. And also, if you notice, I have my phone. I wrote my notes for this episode on my phone, so I'm gonna have that with me. But I just think back to when, obviously, times back then, money is something that we have kind of made to hold value. It is what we depend on to trade for goods and resources. But back in the day, and no, I was not around for this, just, through learnings, just the thought of trading things. Like, you ask someone to share something, and then in return, maybe you share something that you have in return. And I just think that as a collective, there's so many things that we can overcome together. But even a step before that, because I always get ahead of myself on all these things and thoughts and ideas, I'm like, it has to come from self first. And if we as individuals are just struggling on a day-to-day basis, all of those things are great in theory, but they feel almost impossible. Because I know there's been points in my life in the very recent past where I've struggled to even just get dressed to go to work. Because I'm just like, what's the point? Overwhelmed, burnt out, stressed out. I've had a twitch in my eye for the last 3 weeks. And it's like, I don't know if you can, I can even see right now looking in the camera, this eye's a little bit droopier than the other one. I just feel like we're so effing stressed out and we're overwhelmed. And I'm like, I want to talk about some actual, tangible, practical things that we can do that are free and take barely any time that can just help settle our nervous systems just a little bit. This is not going to be the cure. This is not going to take away all the issues that we're seeing and all the things that we're facing. But even just feeling like we have an ounce of control over our lives is such a theme that I see missing. When we don't feel like we have hope or any sense of control, we stop trying. Because without hope, why would you try? Right? What are you looking forward to? If it's nothing, well then what's the point of trying today if you're not looking forward to anything in the future? I know that I want to persevere and keep becoming a better version of myself and continue to grow and to continue to do all these things so that eventually in the future I can have a family and I'll be able to be my best self for them. But I don't want to be naive to the fact that life is just hard right now. And it's okay to say that. It's okay for us to say, life is just shit right now and it's hard and it's stressful. And I think that that's so permission giving to just be like, yeah, life just kind of sucks right now. And it's important that we don't stay in that energetic space all day, every day, because that is also very detrimental. But it's okay to just throw your hands up in the air and say, you know what? Life is just hard right now. And knowing that you're not alone in the fact that life is hard right now. And I know that we can feel so alone because all we really know and see is the walls of our home and our reality. And we're so good at wearing those faces to work, right? Like pretending like things are okay. But what if it's okay that they're not okay? And how do we normalize those conversations? So I wanted to give you guys 5 different things that you can do right now on a daily basis to prioritize you, to tend to your mental health. And I don't want this to just be another podcast episode where you're like, great, here's a list of shit that I'm supposed to do that'll make me feel better, like yeehaw. I'm sharing these things because they work. And I know they can sound stupid and silly and repetitive and they're over talked about. But at the end of the day, these things do work and they can be beneficial. And even if you just do one of them, doing one of them is better than doing nothing. When we allow ourselves to become a victim of our own life and we just hold that belief for ourselves that nothing could ever get better, that's kind of where we're going to stay. And so as much as yes, we have to say life sucks, we can also say there's also so much beauty. So let's dive into these 5 different things. So the first thing that I wrote down and I'm super curious about, and I spent a lot of time reflecting on this question, is what do you spend most of your time thinking about? One of the best ways that you can gain control of your unique mental health in life is to be a detective and figure out, what is it that I'm spending most of my time thinking about? Are you stressed about finances? Are you stressed about your health? Are you stressed about work? Are you stressed about your home, resources, the world, environment? What is it uniquely to you that you're stressed about? Because once you can kind of become friends with that stressor, you can begin to work on it. But if you are uncertain of the thoughts that pass by in your consciousness on a day-to-day basis, they will run you. And because you're allowing them to cycle subconsciously, they gain power. Our thoughts are the same as working muscles in the gym. The more that we work that muscle, the more that we allow that thought to happen, the more our brain begins to believe it and it becomes its belief and it will begin to dictate your life and view life from the lens of that thought. And so it's so important that you begin to recognize what it is you're spending your time thinking about. What is consuming your consciousness? What takes over your mind? I know for me, for so long, it was money. Money every day. Stressed about money, stressed about debt, stressed about saving, stressed about buying a home, stressed about vehicle payments, stressed about, everything, just paying for basic things. And it was just like stress. And it began to take over my subconscious, and it was taking over how I was showing up, which was taking over my sleep, which was taking over my stress even more. And it just continued to perpetuate and gain momentum. But once I began to recognize that that's what I was spending so much time thinking about, that leads me into my second point. Take whatever it is that you're spending time thinking about and break it down. What do you have control of? What do you not have control of? Because the reality is there's going to be things that we think about that upset us, stress us out, worry us, And the reality is sometimes we don't have control of those things. But recognizing that you have control of your thoughts is already so big. But let's say, for example, it's finances. One thing that I started to do more in depth was budget, track my finances. In every possible area that I could have control, I jumped on it. Because the more that we feel like we're in control of a situation, even if it feels small, even if it feels like it's not making an impact, it just allows your brain to turn off for just a second. It allowed me to just be like, I don't need to think about this right now because I have control of it as much as I can in this moment. It's also important to allow ourselves opportunity to think about things that are stressing us out, but having a cap on it. One thing that I learned, way back when I was studying to be a social worker was the container analogy. And it sounds so effing stupid. I remember the first time I learned this, I was like, cute. But it's actually one of my favorite tools to do. So basically what you do is you visualize some form of container. My brain always goes to a pickle jar, I think because I used to be I still am cute. I literally have a Stitch cup right here as we speak. A big Lilo and Stitch fan. And if you've seen the movie, Lilo has a pickle jar that has like spoons in it that she's named. And for some reason, whenever I think about a container, I always think of that pickle jar. But pick whatever container it is for you. I've had clients that have used like a treasure chest, some have used a box, some have created like just an imaginary, anything that is just like you can open and put stuff in. And the preface of this activity is to take your thoughts, put them in this container, and be able to put it away. Put it on the shelf, theoretically, metaphorically, and allow it to just sit there. It's still there, and you can take it down at any time and open it back up. But it just allows you to be like, nope, that's up on the shelf right now. I don't feel like taking that down right now and getting it all out. I'm just gonna store it there. And so when it comes down to the things you don't have control of, sorry if that was super loud, how can you put those in the container and kind of put them aside? I know that I have certain triggers in life that will randomly pop up. And at times I will allow myself to invest several minutes to think about it. But other times I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like taking that out of the container right now and spending my mental power thinking about that. So I'm just going to leave it there. When we look at our world right now, it just seems like crisis everywhere. You know how I opened this episode, like medical stuff and financial stuff and housing crisis and mental health crisis and homelessness and addiction and every area of life just seems defeating. But the more that we allow ourselves to kind of hang out in that area of defeat and overwhelm, it's going to build. And so it is important that, yes, validate those things, validate the things that are stressing you out, but also put them aside. Because as much as there's a lot of shit in life right now, there is so much amazingness. The fact that you're still alive is something to celebrate. The fact that you have the ability to listen to this episode is something to celebrate. That in and of itself makes you pretty fortunate. And I know that everything is perspective and it's hard to kind of believe that sometimes, but it's often not until things are taken away that we gain that perspective. But it's so important that we do recognize and count our blessings and recognize, is this that big a deal in the grand scheme of things? So to come back to my points, the first one, notice what you spend the most time thinking about. The second one, once you kind of gain awareness of what that is, reflect for yourself. Is this something I have control of, or is this something I don't? And if I don't, what can I do to help have a little control? What can I do that's in my power to just allow yourself an outlet, something to escape, something to process whatever it is that's going on? And as always, reaching out to a mental health professional. Lean on a friend, lean on a family member, get it out in a journal. You don't have to do these things alone. Like I said, community and coming together and talking about these things as a collective is truly what I believe is going to get us through. But yes, it does start with an individual job. Number 3, this one's kind of funny, but it's true. Yell. If you want something free and effective, yell. Yelling releases endorphins and happy hormones The exact same as going to the gym and doing a good workout. Screaming into a pillow, screaming in your car. I will never forget. I was hiking in the Rockies when I lived in Alberta. And once I got to the top of the hike that I was doing at the top of the mountain, I yelled as loud as I could. And I made sure I didn't do it in a way that was like I'm being attacked by a bear. It was just like a woo, like yell. And I had goosebumps from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. Even sharing this story, I have goosebumps because it was just so freeing and I got everything out of my system. Yelling not only releases endorphins, but it also stimulates your vagus nerve, which is attached to your central nervous system, which allows you to relax. It sounds so silly, but it's such a great way and a free way to get all that cooped up, negative, resentful, tight, stuck energy in your body out, right? That's why when we look at even somatic work and like body work and trauma, and we're doing this deep processing stuff, sometimes yelling will just like take over and we're like, I just feel like I need to scream. It's because there's energy in you that just needs to come out. And even if you're not like a yeller, you're like, oh, that's like super weird. I don't know if I could do that. Just try it. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's super freaking weird, but it's also incredible. And again, make sure like nobody is gonna come running after you to make sure that you're okay. So either do it in your car when nobody can hear you, or honestly, who freaking cares? Let it out. Let it out. Get it out of your system. So many of us are we carry so much in our body, and our bodies are just like I can't take it anymore. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. Yell about it. Get it out of your system. Okay? It's the same as when people go to those break rooms and just like smash stuff and break stuff and whatever. It's like, it's getting the energy out of your body. And one of the quickest ways you can do it is to just yell and to get it out of your system. So that's number 3. And I wanted to have one on here that was like very silly, but also like super practical. What's something that's free and you can do right now? Yell. Yell. It's a conversation starter. If anything, someone comes running, you're like, well, let's talk about our emotions and why I'm yelling. And most people will probably be like, I've wanted to yell for a really long time. And then maybe you make a new friend and you're yelling together. So that's number 3. Number 4, for the love of God, just take 5 intentional minutes a day for yourself. And I don't want to hear the bullshit of, I don't have time, I have kids, I have work, I have this, I have that. I don't care. With love, I don't care. You have 5 minutes for you. I don't care if you do this while you're sitting on the toilet pretending to pee. I don't care if you do this when you're brushing your teeth. I don't care if you do this before bed. Take 5 minutes out of your 24-hour day for yourself. Take a deep breath. Come back to your body. One of the only ways we are going to begin to starting the cycle of resetting our nervous systems and of coming back to a parasympathetic place, a calm, grounded state, is to take intentional, deliberate time to chill out and to pause and to notice. The main things I talk about in all my keynotes are noticing your thoughts and coming back to your body. We feel dysregulated and overwhelmed because our bodies are taking over and we're just in the rush of going to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. Just stop for a second. Every single day, just stop. And maybe 5 minutes feels impossible. Try a minute, try 30 seconds, I don't care. But intentionally is the word that I need to associate with this one. You need to have that time intentionally. Yes, I take 5 minutes a day, but I'm like, is it intentional? No, it just kind of happened. 5 minutes to breathe, to do something for you, to check in. Am I hungry? Have I eaten? Am I thirsty? Do I need to go to the bathroom? Do I do something that you love? Do a craft, read a book, write in your journal, color a page, something, okay? Fidget with something. I have my little wiener dog squishy guy over there. I like to play with it when I'm like overwhelmed. I just take 5 minutes to notice what it feels like in my hand, what's going on in my mind, how does my body feel today? It's just building that relationship. And I know these things are repetitive and I say them all the time, but honestly, until we master that, and I talk about it all the time and I still have not mastered this, that is only when the work will begin to happen. The key word, and I use this word at every practice I did this year coaching, intentionality. If you're gonna go for a layup, you're gonna take a shot, you're gonna drive to the net, you're gonna box out, you're gonna whatever, do it with intention. Don't just do it to do it. Do it with intention. You will show up so much differently in life when you do something with intent versus just out of autopilot or just because you feel like you need to do it. Okay. Last but not least, number 5. Okay. Love this one. Love this one. Hear me out. Every day, and I know, crazy. You're like, that's a lot. But every day, I need you to keep one promise to yourself. I don't care what this promise is. Maybe your promise is, I will brush my teeth twice today. Maybe your promise is, I'm going to eat breakfast today. Whatever it is, make a promise to yourself and follow through with it. Ideally, it's the same promise every day, but sometimes it can be different, and that's cool. But when you hold yourself accountable and you keep promises to yourself, it builds self-trust. It builds that resilience within you that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. Make it realistic so that you know that you're going to follow through. Sometimes when I'm writing my to-do list, I'll go back and write down things that I've already done just so I can check the list and feel good. And I know that that sounds stupid, but it's like that's my little way of just like thanking myself for doing those things. When you make a promise and you keep it to yourself, it just builds so much love within. It allows you to thank yourself for doing something. And again, the great thing about all of these, but this one specifically, is you get to make it unique to your life and be intentional about an area that you want to show up in. Maybe your promise to yourself is, I'm going to take 5 minutes for myself today. And the thing is think about that feeling after you do it. When you tell yourself you're going to go to the gym and then you go to the gym, it feels so good. When you tell yourself, I'm going to go to bed by 10, and then you go to bed by 10, it feels so good. But then think of the opposite of that. You tell yourself you're going to do something and then you don't. That feeling is really shitty. So make sure that you set something that you're actually going to do. It starts to build hope. It builds dedication to yourself and a commitment to yourself and builds that self-trust within. So I hope that you choose something that aligns for you, and I hope you take the time to allow these to sit with you. Process through them. Pick one that seems the most tangible and go for it. In this moment, let out a big yell. And just like I would yell, but that would, if you're wearing headphones, you would probably never forgive me or tune back in, so I'm not gonna do that. But just take a second to just get something out of your body. Set an intention for today. Maybe right now, these next 5 minutes, can you dedicate them to you? Can you go to the bathroom and then maybe get yourself a hot tea or a snack and come back to your body before you go back to the next thing that you're doing? We're so quick to just go. And I'm guilty. That's why I talk about these things, is because I'm right there with you. You're not alone. The only way that we can begin to counter these automatic actions that we do is to be intentional about it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. The next time I talk to you guys will be April, which is kind of disgusting, if I'm being honest. The fact that we are in April scares me a little bit. We're already in the 4th month of the year. Like we're a quarter done. That's freaky to me. But that is why living with intention is so important, because time will go by and it goes by fast. And so being intentional with our time and our energy is so important. So I hope you know how loved you are. I hope you know how grateful I am for you. If this is your first time tuning in, I am so happy to have you here. I hope that you come back and join us every Tuesday and Thursday. It has been a pleasure talking with you all, and I am just sending you guys all so much extra love. And I hope, as always, you know you're not alone, and we will get through this like we always do. So thank you all so much. I look forward to chatting with you all next week. Bye, you guys.